So seems some of the participants here might have had some things going on in the world that might be applicable to what we're generally talking about. If you so give a shit.
Maybe like how to make room for like spirituality or sitting with yourself or being calm and quiet or listening to your intuition or whatever kind of spirituality thing is for each person, but how to make time for that in like just a busy, demanding world.
Okay. So there's how to make time for spirituality when you're busy as shit. You know, I think something that happened over the course of our conversations over the last while was how do you deal with people who are not working a program? You know. What happened in your world lately? If you so choose to.
Yeah, no, just working on, noticing like dealing with some past trauma and some character defect issues and then dealing with there's my dad's really sick right now, so dealing with that and dealing with the inevitable that's coming soon. Yeah. Okay. And he knows it, and I just got a phone with him. So
how to deal with life as it happens without running back to the known ways of dealing with shitty things,
right? Which
is getting high. So, I mean, those seem very, very similar in topics. I mean, I don't know. I see similarities in a lot of things. Now, how we approach them is very different, but.
Yeah, I like the character defects, and to me, that's like directly related to spirituality. Because like the more time I practice that, probably the less I'm gonna act in ways that are not helpful.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
Like when I'm like go and kind of just living on this like surface level of like do this, now I do this, now I get that done, and like I'm not really like going beyond that and sitting with what's really going on a deeper level. I'm more likely to just like react and go with whatever I think sounds good in the moment and like not be considerate of others and make rash decisions and stuff like that.
Yeah, and not, I mean, the hard part about, you talked about first was taking time for yourself. Sitting in the stillness, sitting in a place where, I mean, that's for most addicts, I think, is a place that they have the hardest time being.
Yeah.
Is when I have to sit still and wander between my ears, where it's just me and my thoughts, my things. Because most of my using was, with every attempt I could, was to avoid that place, was to avoid sitting still with myself. Because then I'm stuck with all of my feelings, thoughts, emotions, self-narratives, all the things that I've told myself forever, And so I'll do anything I can to avoid that place. But there's a part of actually learning to sit in the stillness. I mean, and there's a big difference between solitude and isolation. And I think a lot of people like, I'm really good at solitude. I was alone my whole time, my whole life. When I was using it, I was always alone. And I'm thinking like solitude is where you're actively seeking out stillness, where isolation is where you're just avoiding others, or you're avoiding things.
Yeah, solitude should feel good. Like solitude should feel like peaceful and loving. I think. And isolation is like going down the rabbit hole more of misery.
Yeah. When you talk about what you were just talking about, with hard things in your life, like your dad, how much of your gut instinct is to run?
Oh, it's crossed my mind, sure.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't necessarily mean it has to mean run back to dope, but it means to just avoid the world.
No, sure.
Go inside,
you don't want to feel the feelings. You don't
Yeah.
want to feel the pain, and you know what's coming. And I mean, and you know, this goes deep with my dad over a number of years, my whole life, and so it's you know, there's some you know, amends that were made between he and I, and you know, now we actually have a working relationship and a good relationship, and it's going to come to an end here soon.
Yeah, and dealing with the inevitable. I mean, I heard somebody talk about one thing, the hardest thing about being a human is it's a terminal condition. You know, that we're all going to end up meeting our inevitable end someday.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us sooner than later, you know, it's kind of the byproducts of our using this, you know. That tab comes due someday, you know, but, you know, I get it. It's like, but I think with a lot of times we discount, you know, I had lost my mom this year as well, you know. March 11th, get a phone call, basically, hey, you know, I'm having a problem with my hip because she had a hip replacement. Like, okay, well, go to the doctor. She would say, maybe it's the other hip. Maybe you need another, maybe she's 75 years old. Maybe you need another hip replacement. And she comes back and the doctor's like, you know, 'cause she'd been kind of dragging her foot. And then the doctor's like, arthritis won't do that. And so they did a scan and found out that she had a cancer of her brain on her motor cortex, and it was affecting the operations of her on the right side of her body. It was sort of affecting her motor skills on the left side of her body. And so basically, you know, we always think about life in you know, years or decades or long periods of time. I mean, those long periods of time get compressed into a year or a few series of months or weeks or days or moments. It just really changes how you approach life and how you approach things, you know. And she was diagnosed on March 11th and she passed away May 22nd. So it was basically 71 days from start to finish. You know, and it's weird how it just changes your perception of what really matters, you know. And you know, because the hardest thing is she was my one main reservation.
Right.
She was my biggest reservation. Well, if that happens, well, then maybe I'll go back to what I do. You know, and you know, there was, and I didn't, you know, and there was another time that in the last year, this has become abundantly obvious to me, is there was another person in my life that we were on a trip and they lost their significant other. And I was, you know, Sunday morning, 6:30, my phone starts blowing up and people told me what happened, and I had to be the one that went and told them what was going on, you know. And then, you know, a very good friend of mine who I know in recovery, who's basically, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, you know, got diagnosed with a tumor in his brain the other day. And it's just all these things that have shown up where recovery offers you the ability to show up, you know. It doesn't say shit about things are going to be good. It doesn't say it's going to be painless. It doesn't say that there's going to be, you know, that everything's going to be okay. And quite the opposite. It makes all the emotions I've ever had actually sharper and clearer because I'm not numb to it anymore. But on the beneficial side, it gives us a way we can show up and be in the moment and be there for people in a way that we never could. You know, and that's kind of the thing I think gets underscored is, you know, this recovery thing, and we were talking about this the other day, but recovery's really fucking easy when shit's going your way.
Right.
You know, but on all the days you show up when it feels like it's not that big of a deal, it's actually a huge deal because it's all those days you show up and things are going well that are going to carry you through the days when things suck.
Right.
You know. And I think that gets missed a lot, you know. And
there's like this, like, I feel like there has to be an acceptance that life comes with pain and emotions, whether you're using or not. Because it's like, either all my pain, all my emotions are going to, like, smack me in the head while I'm sitting in a jail cell with nothing but me at the end of my rope, or I'm gonna feel it as I go and and deal with it, and not in a non-destructive way in recovery. So it's like, to me, it has to be like acceptance that they're going to be there either way, but like how can I make it the best experience possible? Like, probably not by running, because it'll always catch up anyways. Probably by dealing with it in the moment, because then that's the only way through it is through it.
Totally. You know, and it brings up a piece like you guys were talking about. How do you sit still in the silence without running? Because when things are going well, it's much easier to sit still and to be present with myself. You know, even to just practice. I will be present. You know, it sounds kind of kumbaya when you say it that way, but you know, if I can practice when things are going well, it's gonna really make it so much fundamentally easy. Well, not easier, but it's gonna make it possible when the shit is hitting the fan and things are not going my way. You know, because I've built some muscle memory on how to do it. You know, when you lose somebody, or you lose a job, or you lose a relationship, or you lose any amount of loss or pain that shows up in life, I've got a little bit of knowledge on how to do it. You know, I've built a little bit of muscle memory on how to actually get through the moments when things were going okay, that maybe I can get through these moments when things are going shitty, you know, and things are really catastrophically bad, you know.
No, like, addicts were so reactive. Like, we just like to wait till something happens and then try to do something about it then. And that's, like, just doesn't work. And, like, that's still addiction to me, is, like, trying to pick up the pieces while things are happening. Mm-hmm. And recovery is more like, what if I do the thing regularly, and maybe that will prevent shit from hitting the fan so much, at least inside me. You know, like, if I do deep breathing in the morning, I'm probably not going to feel as angry when someone cuts me off later. But, like, if I wait to do deep breathing when somebody cuts me off, it's too late. I'm already, like, flipping them off. You know, I'm already in reaction mode.
Yeah, completely. You know, what do you think? I mean, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but you're going through, like, what do you think when you feel when you think about your dad right now? Like what's the way to get through this? You know, because is there a part of you that's saying, you know, run to what I know?
No, I mean, I just got off the phone with them, and no, there's not. That's the answer to your question. Okay. But there's that reminiscing feeling that, you know, playing everything back through childhood years to, you know, the addiction, the times that he was there, you know, to help me out, you know, us finally building a relationship that's, you know, a good father-son relationship, and, you know, and not potentially, but it is going to come to an end here, you know, sooner rather than later, based on the diagnosis we got yesterday. So, but after talking with him, you know, I can hear in his voice, and I know he's going, you know, he's trying to be brave about it, but, you know, and I heard for him. I mean, I can feel empathy for him right now, where, you know, 5 years ago, no way in hell.
Fuck you.
Yeah, drop dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get what you deserve. It's just, yeah.
Right. So there's I have empathy for him more than anything. Yeah. And for me, it's, going and using and running and doing all that bullshit's not going to solve any problem. Not going to solve anything. You know, and it's a fact to just make it worse, you know. Because when I go, I vanish, and so then everyone's looking for me and all that bullshit, and I don't want to go through all that.
Yeah. You know, and the cool part about this is, you know, you get to show up in a way that's new that you've probably never done before. You know, this offers, literally working on my recovery and being there offers me a way that I get to show up in my life that I absolutely could not have while using, that I know. You know, and it changes, like all of my, you talked about defects earlier, like all of my defects that I had in my old life, lying and cheating, manipulating and getting over on people, and just all the shit that was absolutely critical in my old life, doesn't do a goddamn thing for me in this life. And by knowing that none of my known means of operation work anymore, it forced me into a position to figure out a new way to show up.
Right.
When this was my dad, he died 3 months before I got clean.
Right.
And I remember getting a phone call from my stepmom when I was, hired shit, sitting in a casino somewhere. Hey, your dad passed away. We're having a service on Saturday. I really need you to be here. And I was like, oh, I'll be there. Click, hung up. Never showed up. Because I just, I intended to. I really, truly, my heart told me that I was going to get it there the whole way. But I just had an inability to show up in my life at that stage of the game. I just couldn't, people are like, oh, yeah, you could have. Well, I had a different series of priorities, I guess you could say. And mine was avoiding pain.
Right.
Mine was avoiding anything. And then I sat and justified 10,000 reasons why that was okay. But it wasn't, because for years, it bugged it really, truly, deeply bothered me, because she had never been anything but nice to me. Yeah, I could justify, my dad was a bastard, whatever. But she'd never been anything but good to me. And, and those are the things where we show up in our life where, in a new way. In this time when it was my mom, it's funny when you get to a place when all the shiny, pretty shit that we chase most of our life doesn't matter anymore. It leaves you with just what does. And what matters is relationships and time and quality of life, and the things that it's just being surrounded by the people that actually give a shit about you and that matter. She can, like I was watching this interview with people that were in their last stages of life, and when they get to the end of the road, the shit they didn't talk about, the extra weekends worked, the raises, the promotions, all the things that we seemingly value, the new cars, the houses, none of them talked about any of that shit.
Right.
What they talked about was their experiences, and what they talked about was their relationships, and what they talked about was the connections that they make with each other. And that's what really matters. Now, was it hard? Yeah. But we had some beautiful conversations in those 71 days about what quality of life really means. Time with her granddaughters, time with her kids, time, she had this food bucket list of things she wanted to eat, which was great. I gained like 40 pounds while I was up there. But
so what's the one thing that you can attribute that to, that you could make it there for your mom, like in your recovery?
What one thing? I guess
it's the one thing you did that said, this is what I did, and this is why I could be there for my mom when I couldn't be there for my dad.
If I was to say one thing broadly and generally, it would be recovery from addiction would be the big thing. But in that, it's not just getting clean. I mean, there's a huge difference between being abstinent and being in recovery.
Right.
Simple form is abstinence, just being a period in your life when you ain't using shit.
Well, we were just talking about, like, when the times are good, this is, so for the word I would think, for me, it's got to be consistency. Like, if I'm not, like, even when things are good right now, and I'm still, showing up here, you and I work together, going and doing whatever I got to do for my recovery. So when the time does come and I do get that phone call or whatever, so be it.
What were the things that mattered, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, I unconsciously was planning for this time way before the event even came into the radar. And then what I mean is all the days that I would show up to the meetings I was going to. When I went into an intensive outpatient patient and started dealing with my behaviors, when I started talking to a counselor and therapist to deal with the underlying reasons I use, when I surrounded myself with people that had the same mindset as I did that wanted recovery, when I lived in a safe environment, because for me it was in a sober living for a while, when I started looking at my mental health and my spiritual health and my physical health, because when I physically feel like shit, I mentally feel like shit,
Sure.
And vice versa. But all of those things collectively, I don't I truly don't think I could have done this and not that, or one of these and not the other thing. I think it was literally fundamentally changing every aspect of what I did, because I had, for me, and I'll just speak for myself, I have an addiction that dominated every single aspect of my life. From the places I went or didn't go, to the people I hung out or didn't hang out with, to the ways I showed up for my family or didn't, to the jobs I had or couldn't keep, to the ways I thought about the world, the way I solved my problems, the way that I found emotional stability, the way that I, socialized. Literally everything had to do with my addiction. So when I came to try to change everything, the simplest way I can put this, if I have a problem that was affecting my entire life, it made sense to me that I should also have solutions that affect my entire life. So I did get involved in a 12-step fellowship. Was hugely foundational, because that gave me the consistency to know that I have people that I don't have to do this by myself.
Right.
I dealt with I got into an intensive outpatient program on my own because it gave me a way to deal with my behaviors that pertain to using. When I think about why I was using, the shame, the guilt, the lack of self-worth, the depression, the anxiety, the loneliness, the trauma, the pain, all of that shit was things that I needed somebody beyond a sponsor, beyond a 12-step room to be able to deal with, and I did it with a counselor and therapist. Mm-hmm. Somebody who...
But you were consistent in your recovery no matter what.
Yeah, and all of those things.
What led to you, so when you were going to get knocked off your stool,
yeah,
whatever it was, whatever comes at you, you knew what to do because you were consistent in your recovery.
Well, I was consistent for years before those catastrophic times happened.
I'm not just talking about your mom. I'm sure you had other times before your mom passed away that
well, I mean, there's
you on your ass.
all sorts of legal issues and all sorts of shit that's happened.
Right.
But every single day, every time you show up to a meeting or work with a sponsor or work a step or go to a counseling or work with, go to your spiritual practice or do something healthy for yourself or surround yourself with good people or fellowship with other people, everything you do for your recovery, every single one of those things, it kind of puts it like a drop in a bucket, and a drop and a drop and a drop and a drop and a drop. And all those things eventually build up over time, and that becomes the reservoir of strength that floats you through the times that suck.
The tough times, right?
Because I didn't, I came back from that experience with my mom and the funeral and everything afterwards. And, I went to a meeting, and this newcomer kid who I've kind of known came up and asked me a question that kind of floored me. He was like, "Hey, can I ask you something? I don't mean this disrespectfully, but did you think about using when I was talking about my mom?" And it kind of threw me back. I was like shocked. I was like, no, I hadn't. And I was really, for about a week, I was thrown by that idea. I was like, how in the fuck could have I not thought about using it at the worst stage of my life? But I didn't. But I think I changed. I think what we do over time is we change our autopilot. Most times when I was in early recovery and shit would go bad, autopilot, all roads lead to dope.
Right.
Now, over time, the solutions that I orient myself with are, now I didn't think about using dope, but I crawled my ass into a lot of meetings in Colorado Springs and cried my fucking eyes out to the people in those rooms.
Right.
And I called I have a friend who talks about her rings. She's got her inner ring, your ride or die, people you can call Sunday night 3 a.m. and they're going to answer the phone kind of people. And then, her outer ring, which is, the people in the broader recovery community, really close people. And then there's a recovery community as a whole. But, I leaned on those ride or die people a lot, and I leaned on a sponsor a lot. And I leaned on just the people that could hold me up when I couldn't hold myself up.
Right.
And with all of those things, I did a lot of that. But that has become my solution, that as opposed to using, as opposed to going the other direction. And it's been a huge shift, and
I think it sometimes it's hard to make the inner circle, right? Earlier in recovery, you have to actually make that circle of people that are your ride or die people, and that takes time. Like building any relationship takes time, and I think like it can be really hard. I mean, I think of like how difficult it was to be present at all with anything in the beginning. Like if I went to a 1 hour meeting, I already got up and got coffee 7 times, smoked 4 cigarettes, went to the bathroom twice. It was only an hour, and so like just being able to have a conversation with someone I don't really know longer than like 30 seconds was hard. And I think like a lot of it is like just learning to be still and like just learning to there's layers to being present.
Yeah.
And baby steps. Like maybe, okay, even though I took all those breaks, it was really good that I showed up, and then maybe a month later, I actually hear some of the things that people share. And then, like I'll do like a guided meditation, and even with yours clean, within like the 10 minutes of the guided meditation, maybe I was present for like 3 of my breaths without my mind going 15 different places. But that's okay. The only thing that matters is that I sat there to do it.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, when something happens, some difficult emotion comes up, like I'm able to actually sit and be present with that emotion a little bit because of all the other consistent things that I've done with being present with me, being present with spirituality, being present with a mentor or sponsor, being present with loved ones, because like I didn't even want to, like all the things that I cherish now, I couldn't even do back then, but like I would do it as much of my ability as possible on repeat and like strengthen that muscle of being able to just be present with something.
Yeah. And that's present. Like I remember going to meetings, I would show up 5 minutes late and I'd leave early before the thing so I didn't have to sit there, because the one time I went outside and waited, I've been here 10 seconds, nobody talked to me, nobody must like me, I gotta go by.
Yeah.
I'd run away. Because the story I had in my head about what a piece of shit I am, I mean, it's getting reinforced because I've been here literally 7 seconds and nobody's walked up and just gave me a big hug and talked to me.
Yeah.
So I better leave because what I'm telling myself is accurate and right. And that's not it. But the reality on the flip side of that is when it came to a bag of dope, I'd have rolled up on any of you and hung out on your couch for fucking 3 days to make that shit happen. What's up? How you doing? What you doing? What you talking? So why can't I apply that to gaining, none of us learned how to use overnight, but yet I want instant gratification. I want this instant solution on this side of the equation, and it takes a little bit of time. What do you think is going to get you through this? I mean, I know that's probably super hard to ask in the moment.
Oh, I think it's going to be the consistency and just keep doing what I'm doing. And who knows when the time has come, but as far as staying in my recovery and in my higher power and working with my sponsor and doing things like that and just and talking about it and not letting feelings build up if I'm and isolating and some bucket or whatever, just keep doing exactly what I'm doing, because you and I, we were working last night together. We got the phone call, so and it took me by surprise. So I was, got emotional about it, and then that was it. It was a matter of there's a problem in front of us, and it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and life's, he's not going to. He may be the first, but he's not going to be the last. Mm-hmm. So. I don't. The last death I had in my family was my grandfather when I was 18 years old, and I did not handle that well at all.
And that was
32
years ago?
Yeah.
35 years ago?
And I didn't handle that well, and that was the one that really took me out.
Yeah.
And I got taken out.
Yeah.
Big time. And I remembered that, the funeral, dying, and went on a run for weeks and nobody could find me.
Yeah.
So not repeating that would be a bonus.
Yeah, and I think you both just talked about this in a different way. Is like giving yourself credit to know, we were talking about this the other day, it's like, I'm not where I want to be, and I accept that, but you know what? I'm sure the fuck not where I was.
Right.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
And that I'll give you credit, like we were talking the other day, that, this is now the third trip since somebody special in your life has left, that you're actually being successful and you're not, she's not coming home to you having to say, oh, I went and did my thing again.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of, that's 3 times. Now, does that outweigh the many other times when it was? No, but it's progress.
Yeah.
And Elise talking about, I may have only taken 3 consistent breaths in the course of sitting there for 45 minutes that were what I wanted, but it's progress. I may not have made it through the thing with my mom the way, in a perfect sense, but I sure the fuck showed up, and I sure the fuck was able to do things in a way that I hadn't. There's a lot to be said for that, and giving ourselves credit.
Just showing up is so hard, but it's like, it's like we're human. We're not going to do everything perfectly, and we're not supposed to. Like, humans are messy, and that's why we're so awesome. There's a lot of beauty in the mess, and like being able to be like, well, I did my best, and knowing, that's gonna build, right? If I show up to this, I show up to that, I show up to this thing, then I'm building that muscle. And so when things are really hard, my feet are already walking to go show up. It's just auto.
Yeah. I just remember there was a time when I had a leg cast on. Any of you guys ever broken a bone? When you break a bone and they put that cast on your leg, and it's on there for 8 weeks or whatever it is, or 12 weeks. Mine was on there for 12 weeks, and they took it off, and it was this skinny little emaciated, barely walk on little spindly thing compared to what it used to be. And that's literally what, it seemed to me kind of like a metaphor for recovery. Like most of my life, that cast was dope. It kept me propped up. Because I think a lot of times we discount that using does something for us, that using's done a lot of things for a lot of people at a time when I didn't know what else to do. Using got me through a lot of emotional barriers, things I didn't do. Now, granted, I'm not trying to say that using is beneficial. Let's get that crystal clear. But I think there was a stage that it did something for everybody. That's why we continue to do it, because it works.
Sure.
But the times that it works gets shorter and shorter and shorter until you get to the place where it doesn't work at all. And then the times when the normalcy happens gets further and further and further stretched apart. And basically at the end of the day, I wasn't getting high. I was just trying to chase some level of normalcy. And when I take that cast off, or I stop using, my whole life feels like that skinny little spindly muscleless leg. The first time I walk in, you're like, ow, ee, oh, ah. But every time I go to a meeting, you get a little stronger. Every time I meet up with people who are healthy, I get a little stronger. Every time I talk with a counselor or therapist, I get a little stronger. Every time I do something to improve my life, I get a little stronger. Every time I show up and my actions match my words, and my consistency and the transparency and all the things I do in my recovery, every single one of those, I get a little stronger, a little stronger, a little stronger, till one day you're just tap dancing around the world and you love the life that you've created. But the problem with that is it doesn't happen overnight. I see so many people come in like, oh, I tried that one thing, it didn't work, fuck it, I should give up on everything. Clearly this isn't working, I'm going to go back to what I know.
Right.
And there's no...
Oh, I've been guilty of that, for sure.
Yeah. There's no... Nothing changes immediately. It takes time.
And the things that do change immediately are not good. like drugs. Or anything that's instant gratification. Like, I feel like anything that seems really easy and has fast results, it always has bad consequences. Like, if this choice that I'm trying to take seems really easy, it's probably going to be bad news in the long run. Whereas, like, things that seem sort of more difficult in the moment are probably going to, like, actually make my life easier in the long run.
Totally. The things that, I mean, yeah, it's a good, like if it improve things immediately, it's probably going to decrease immediately as well.
Yeah.
I feel great. I feel shitty. I feel great. I feel shitty. I feel great. I feel shitty. And it's the lovely little roller coaster that we've been riding around on for years that, you know, in itself becomes addicting, you know. The whole idea of addiction to chaos and drama, you know.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people, you know, put down dope and they'll pick up drama and chaos, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like being that maybe that's part of the reason I like being present is so difficult, because we're used to this roller coaster, and then it's almost like being present is like sitting in the ride and like waiting for it to start, and you're like, is it gonna go up? Is it gonna go down? When's it gonna start? And like calm is so freaks us out.
Super
so
fucking uncomfortable. It's really fucking hard to sit in the calm, you know.
Yeah, Sarah and I were talking about it the other day, and how our life is in our relationship now. When I was using, it was chaotic because we each had a job. I had a job to go use and go fuck off, and she had a job to come save me. So everybody had their place in the relationship, right? And now that I'm clean, and it's called stability, and we don't know what to do with our fucking selves. We're going crazy. Like, is this it? You know, you're sitting on the gym watching Netflix, or just, you know, we go to the gym or eating healthy and then, like, you know, play with the cats. That's our day right now, whatever. This is called stability. This is what we asked for. And now we get it because there's nobody freaking out. There's Nick's not fucking running off, and she has nobody to save. You know, I'm no longer the project. So it's you know, there's a sense of calmness that comes with obviously getting clean, and we're not used to it. At least I'm certainly not, because I love the chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, but what about the chaos do you love?
What do you mean? I loved all of it.
I know you loved all of it. Well, what is, you know, I see so many people, this is as fucking good as it's going to get. Well, fuck it, I should just go back to what I know.
Well, because I told you that. Don't fucking. I told you
I'm not
that.
saying, just saying, some people.
Right.
You know, but I hear a lot of people say some similar version of that same story. Well, if this is fucking good as it gets,
right, and
well,
it's something but that is absolutely true, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you're so used to going Mach 10, and now you're fucking at ground zero, the needle just stopped.
Yeah,
you're longing for something different.
Yes, because all right, but think of what
you don't know that.
Think about what you just said. I want something different.
Right.
Something different implies when it's the same, it's what?
Boring.
It's boring?
Right.
Is it boring, or does it mean you're stuck with you?
Well, it means, but I'm saying there's the stability part. Like, that's what we ask for.
Yeah. I want the stability till it's here.
Right.
I want the calm until, you know,
still
I'm
have to
actually
learn how to deal with it. You
Yes,
still
I
have
understand
to learn
that.
how to live with it. It's just something not used to it.
So I want to keep going with this, because this is the exact idea.
Because, like, listen, let's just take, you're a little different than I am. I didn't go around getting guns in my face and getting fucking shot up and all that shit. You did.
Yeah.
So when you stopped doing all that shit and no one was chasing you and you weren't all that crap that you were going through, you didn't know what to do. It was a little different from you, right? So you had to learn to live a different lifestyle.
Totally. And I would find myself gravitating back to the areas that happened.
Right.
Well, let me just go drive by and see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Let me just wander. Maybe I should go see my connect to see if he needs, let me show him how good I'm doing.
I've done that several times. Yeah. Absolutely. Wonder how she's doing.
Yeah. Maybe they need a hug and they miss me.
Exactly.
Like your fucking connect needs a goddamn hug.
Right.
You know, or all of these things. But is it that my life is boring now, or is it just a lack of drama or chaos?
It's just a lack of drama or chaos. But you still have to. There is a growing pains to learn how to live that lifestyle that you're not used to.
Totally. So let's think about what you said. If you were, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. If you were to take all of the time you spend pre and post use, you know, the hustling, the getting, the doing, the fucking picking up fight with somebody to go do your thing, the actual using part, which is usually pretty short, and then the after effects.
Right.
The the broken relationship,
down,
the come down, the using, the blah blah blah, all that shit.
Sure.
It is a massive amount of outlay of hours in your day, and it's usually full of drama and chaos, constantly unto itself. So basically, what you've done is you've taken away all of that,
right?
And you've cleared this massive space in your life that's basically a bunch of white space now. So basically, what are you going to do with that? Because you can sit in what feels like unpressable boredom. Or we can start to fill that in with new things.
Right, but which is, you're absolutely right, which I'm learning to do. But it's a new learned behavior because you put me back in the chaos, and I fucking know that, and I know how to operate around that.
Fuck yeah, because it's comfortable.
It's comfortable, absolutely.
What you know, it's like that shitty old pair of jeans that people tell you to throw away, but you just they're so nice, and
so
good.
Through recovery, learning a new behavior and learning that, instead of the peaks and valleys, which I'm, the heads up to come down, the head up to come down, it's that slow, steady rise in recovery, because I believe we are rising in recovery always, and it's just the slow and steady. It's, it's like betting on Bitcoin, and instead of going and buying mutual funds, it's like, fuck yeah, let's go for broke. Let's put it all in, put it all in black. I get it. I'm not saying.
Legal fucking gambling.
Listen, at 100 days clean, I'm telling you, it's a new learned behavior that I'm slowly learning.
Okay, so at 100 days clean, there's also things we should pay attention to, because is it basically using dope in a new form that doesn't have anything to do with using? It's crazy. It's exciting. And I'm not saying life shouldn't be exciting. Don't get me wrong. No. I'm not saying seek out boredom.
I'm not saying pick up.
I'm just saying there's
like people do it all the time. They go, stop using dope, go to the casino.
Yeah.
Stop using dope, drive cars real fast, 100 miles an hour, and whatever your speed jam is, and whatever your jam is, But I'm saying take all that out, not finding a new vice, and literally, working a program of recovery and living a slow, steady life is something that takes time.
It takes time and practice, and it doesn't.
And consistency.
What if it doesn't have to be slow? But what if it's just maybe you fill it with because I used to say the exact same shit.
Compared to what I did, everything is going to be slow.
Okay, but in comparison to. If I look at my life now in comparison to using, I'm fucking way busier now than I ever was when I was using. But there's not the residue.
When you were using, your adrenaline was a lot higher than it is now.
I fucking doubt it.
You think so?
No, I don't even. It's not even close.
Really? All right.
Well, and I think it's like I have to decide what's more important to me. Like, is life all about the adrenaline rush, or can I look at like the flip side of what are some of the things that I didn't have? I didn't have serenity. I didn't have peace of mind. I didn't have like true unconditional love, feelings of that. And so, yeah, I may not get the constant adrenaline rush, but I'm also getting some things that I've been craving for years that I have never gotten before. And just to be able to be grateful for those things. Just be like, hey, this is calm, and actually this can be kind of a nice thing, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's just the getting used to it part that I am having. I'm not going to say trouble, but it's just getting used to it. It's different, and it's something that I haven't experienced in maybe ever
yet.
So
I'm a really big believer that if we don't create a life
worth living that
we want in recovery more than the life we had using, we're going to fucking go back to what we want.
Which is what I'm working on.
Yeah. And so, but that doesn't, it takes time and it takes patience. I mean, think about 100 days in the course of a lifetime.
Listen, I'm
don't get me wrong, it seems like fucking forever.
I'm actually scared of the life that I can create.
Okay.
I'm fearful of it.
Okay. So
there's a lot of fear. You and I both know that I have a fear of success.
Okay.
So there's a things start getting good through recovery. It's the self-sabotage that I'm well aware of, that I'm watching out for.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at that for a second. So the things we're afraid of, are self-sabotage, just fucking my own shit up.
Right.
Why would we actively, and now if you were to step out reflectively from the outside and look in at your life like a third person and say, I'm going to fuck up my own shit.
Right.
It sounds absolutely batshit crazy. Why in the hell would you go do that? Doesn't it? But it's something that every
People do it all the time.
single one of us as a human being does on a regular,
Right.
some people more or less than others, but it's something I think we've all done at one point or another. So why would
that roller coaster
we? Yeah.
that you're just talking about, right? Like, I think a lot of us we're actually really good at going, whoop, but then like we assume that everything now has to go here because it always has been.
Yeah. The other shoe's going to drop idea, And then the other side is like, why would we actively, consciously do that? But I think there's a piece of it. We may not be as conscious.
I was going to say, I don't think
we're as conscious about it, but
No.
I know for me, what happened is I remember this. I remember being at about, it was like a year clean. And everything if you looked at my life from the outside, everything looked great. I had a job and I had a car and some girl thought I was cute and I had some money in my pocket. My family was starting to trust me and I had a stable house I could live in and I had some responsibilities and all of these things and everything on the outside looked great. And on the inside I was like, oh, this is really, I think I'm going to blow this shit up.
Yeah.
And why would we do that? And it took, I wrestled with this idea because it was me. I was like, why are you going away from what you know? Well, because it is but why we do what we do. Because I think there's a part of us where when I come, if you think about it, in recovery, literally everything is new. I have all these emotions, I have all these thoughts, I have all these feelings, I have this responsibility that people are giving me now. Right. I've got some respect, I've got these schedules, I've got all this shit I've never done before. And when all those pressures and newness are happening and all of a sudden I get this bright idea, I was like, ooh, but my old life.
Right.
Oh, there are no mysteries back there. I know how to operate. I know everybody that's there. I know how to get by. I know how to survive. I know how to exist in that world because I am masterful at it. Mm-hmm. And so I start gravitating back to what I know, unconsciously.
When you're at the bottom, all there is to go is up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like when you're at the top, my anxiety is like, let's go back to the bottom because then we won't be anxious anymore because we have nothing to lose.
Right.
And maintaining is scary because it's like,
am
I a good enough, sane enough person to really keep this all in the air?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Aren't I going to fuck this up like I always have?
It's like we have all the plates in the air right now, and which one's going to drop first, right?
Yeah.
And the longer you stay clean, I think the more plates you get.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's relationships a plate, life's a plate, kids if that's what you have as a plate, your home, your job, your car. Those are all plates that you're keeping up in the air.
Yeah.
When I didn't have to
spin, But the thing is, I think based on our old lifestyle of fix and fail, fix and fail, fix and fail, fix and fail, that would be the outcome.
Right.
But it's also the outcome because I'm using. I am a byproduct of what I'm doing in my life, and
sure.
I had that experience because of the byproducts of my using. Like you see the TV ads for drug commercials, and there's may cause you to grow a tail or may cause your fucking head to explode or whatever the side effects are. They're usually way worse than the cure.
Yeah.
All of my side effects of using meant I couldn't keep every one of those plates going at the time.
I agree.
But the reality of just normal living is we all keep plates spinning all the time. But the cool part about this is over time, recovery offers me a way to get really effective at spinning those plates.
Yeah.
I get really much better. Sure. Now, do I drop some? Yeah, fuck yeah.
Of course.
Shit still happens.
Right.
But it happens way less. And I can start to accept the fact that what made those plates drop before was my inability to show up. And now that I'm actually showing up, I don't have to base my new outcome on my past experiences. And I can look at who I am today.
So for me, it's like I used to do consistently, go to work, use drugs on the weekend, party. If I ended up showing back up to work on Monday, it was a miracle or whatever, So but that was my consistency in doing that. Like I knew how to operate in that world, right? And now trying to be consistent in the recovery world is just completely foreign to me. It's a new learned behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so it's hard.
It's hard, but it's doable.
No, it's very doable.
I mean,
I'm saying I'm fearful from it. That's
Okay.
what we were getting at. Like,
Yeah.
that's the fear of success, because I'm starting to see some of the success. Like I'm feeling
Yeah.
better. I'm looking healthier. I'm my relationship's getting better. I'm starting to show up. Things are getting better, and I'm like, fuck.
But this is also to me it's scary because it's also the part where every single time
I go running.
you run to the hills.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So what can keep from running to the hills this time? I think there's so many people that are really good that they get clean for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is, go back to what they know. And it's that repeating cycle over and over and over and over again. So how do we get to a place where instead of looking at, I want to stay clean for the next decade, there's the idea of, staying in today. Mm-hmm. But, I need to start looking at the fact that I'm basing those fears on my old reality. But the reality I'm living in now, granted, two things, I don't have any experience with success here, so I don't know how to base it on that. So I'm going to go with what I do know, which is that, and then we have that amygdala in our head that makes us either want to run or fight,
right?
Which hijacks all of our thinking. But there's a big piece to this. I think that practice success matters. Mm-hmm. Like I know. So let's look at the times that your significant other's made it out of town and you've made it through it successfully. Mm-hmm. You don't have a lot of experience in that.
Right.
This is now number 3.
Right.
Which is great. And each time you find that level of success, it's gonna change the unconscious abilities to run into something like, hey, maybe I can do this.
Right.
Maybe I can do it again. And it's these little baby incremental steps. I think that, wow. And also just making conscious our unconscious sides of ourselves. Mm. The unconscious sides of me says, when shit goes sideways, run. Even it's not dope. It's, I'm really good. Like, when shit goes bad, bye.
Yeah.
Don't deal with it.
Well, and I think that sometimes that's the problem, is like we expect our past selves to be our future selves. And it's like really hard to see, like, what am I going to be like in the future? Am I going to be able to handle these things? Mm-hmm. But like for me, kind of like looking in a crystal ball is like going to meetings and hearing what other people do. Like, hey, this person has held all their plates in the air for 20 years, and I'm doing the same things that they're doing. So that gives me the hope that I can do it too. But also just like the humanity, when people with timeshare and they're like, I dropped 5 plates last year and I'm still here, I still got the other ones up, and the world didn't end. And I'm like, okay, I'm also allowed to make mistakes and it'll be okay.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so, running up, I think it gets some time, is I love the idea that fear can be overcome if I base it on what I'm doing today. Because I always like people to walk away from something from this that they can work on today, and they can apply to their life today. I love what you said earlier, Elise. I sat still for 45 minutes, and only 3 of those breaths were the ones that I was trying to take. But that's progress. I've made it through, 3 journeys on my own, and it's been successful. I'm walking into a time right now that's going to be really fucking hard, and I can accept that it's going to be painful, but I don't have to run.
Right.
I can lean on the people around me. I can lean on the program I'm in. I can lean on mentors or sponsors. I can lean on spiritual practice. I can lean on my physical health. I can learn to read, write, journal, and I can show up, even despite the pain. But not despite the pain, because of it, I get to show up. And all those things I think are super valuable, to be able to come through and make it through these things. And to, I love the idea of, you want life to be different, do different shit.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I've come to learn that pain is part of the process. Mm-hmm. And even when I was putting myself in pain. This is a different, these are growing pains because I'm learning a new behavior. So, as I keep trudging this road of recovery, I learn something every day. I really do. Like I just, because I dig in and because I'm aware that I'm learning something different, because I'm doing something different, and so it gives me the fortitude to keep doing the same thing if I want a different life.
Totally. I mean, pain is inevitable.
No.
Misery is optional.
Yeah.
No staying stuck in it.
That's true.
So cool. Well, I thank you guys for your time today. I always love the conversations, you guys. This is going
Thank
great.
you.
So,
All right.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Lise.
All information and other content supplied or communicated in or through this video is for general informational purposes only and does not nor is intended to constitute legal or medical advice. Any viewer of this video should contact his or her own attorney, doctor, or other applicable advisor or practitioner to obtain legal, medical, or other applicable advice with respect to the accuracy, reliability, or potential application to such viewer of any matter discussed or portrayed in this video. Please do not act or refrain from acting in any way based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through this video. The views expressed during this video are those of the individual presenters only and not those of Choice Recovery Path LLC or any of its customers, suppliers, or affiliates. Any liability with respect to actions taken or not taken by any viewer based on any information or content supplied or communicated in or through such video is hereby expressly disclaimed. All such information or content is expressly provided as is and free of any representation or warranty of any kind.